So today we're talking about Serenity, a relatively quick video. I like Serenity a lot. In fact, I love Serenity. I think it's very good. I know a lot of people like to rag on the movie, but I don't think anyone engages with it properly. Big fucking surprise. I think Serenity is great. I was a big fan of Firefly. I think Joss Whedon had three major works: Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly and Serenity, and Dollhouse. I think that Buffy is like inarguably the most impressive thing he ever did, but Dollhouse is the one I find most personally striking and moving and interesting. I love Dollhouse the most. That's the one that affects me the most deeply. Uh, but Firefly and Serenity, those are interesting, right? And I'm not going to go into a lot of depth with Firefly. I will just like set down the foundation because it is his most optimistic work, and yet it is still extremely a nihilistic piece in this world of losers, essentially cosmic losers. And it's an extremely reactionary kind of science fiction story where the world is run by corporate nihilism, by absolute nihilism. And we follow this ragtag wild bunch of, yeah, like losers, freaks, misfits, criminals, Confederates, people who have lost, brown coats. People who lose and lose and lose and lose, and yet do their best to persevere, the human condition, right? It's very optimistic because the crew are intensely likable. Joss Whedon knows how to play the charisma game incredibly well, and Firefly is a beaming example of just how far charisma can get you. This is such a likable cast of characters, such a wonderful little ensemble, and they're all kind of quirky and unique and interesting, and they're all failures, and they're all rejects and social outcasts in their own way. That's Firefly, right? There's a lot more to Firefly, but this is not a video about Firefly. It's about Serenity. And to jump right into the kind of like basic themes, the basic philosophy of Serenity, I think is extremely nihilistic, but I still believe it is decidedly optimistic and truthful with a lot of integrity. In its most simple terms, it's about the right to be wrong. The villain of this movie is an absolutist. He is an assassin, an operative for the Alliance for Fascism. The Alliance is the darkest form of of nihilism, the darkest form that nihilism can and does take. And he's a bit of a fundamentalist. He likes to tell people what their sins are. The best response we get to that is from Malcolm Reynolds saying, I'm a fan of all seven. He's described as a true believer. He believes so intensely that it's crazy and psychopathic and it's scary. He's a fundamentalist. But Serenity and Joss Whedon are telling us that the idea of sin is archaic and it's outdated. And in fact, Serenity gives us kind of the personification of the most terrifying, most sinful creatures in the galaxy, right? In the universe, being Reavers, these crazy zombified cannibal rapists from hell. And it shows us through this film that they are a creation of experimentation. They are quite literally victims of fascism, of nihilism at its most bleak, at its most fundamental. Like I talked about this on Buffy season 4 because like Joss Whedon is always kind of revisiting themes that he finds to be very interesting, and I think that they are hurdles within himself that he is trying desperately to leap over successfully. And in season 4 of Buffy, that was like the initiative. That was the fascist season of Buffy. And the way that you weaponize nihilism in in its most disturbing form is you provide it with a fundamentalist sort of purpose, an archaic form of purpose. And of course, the Serenity crew they kind of embody the physical poetry of freedom in the existentialist sense. What I like most about the film, is Summer Glau, is River Tam. I thought she was the most interesting part, the best component of the show Firefly. And I like to look at Summer Glau just like Eliza Dushku. She is a bit of a muse for Joss, a lesser muse than Eliza Dushku, but a muse nonetheless. The film insists upon her so much, and I think that he loves photographing her, and I think he finds a lot of meaning and value within her. And I love watching Summer personally. I mean, of course, she's beautiful, but the entire the entire Firefly, like every woman of Firefly, is unreasonably beautiful. Every woman in Serenity is unreasonably gorgeous. But Summer Glau is also a dancer, a ballerina specifically. So when we have her in these ultra violent, pretty chaotic, and beautifully choreographed scenes of brutality, these amazing fight scenes and sequences, she is moving gracefully in a way that's fluid or in a way that's jerky, but kind of controlled in a way of a ballet. She provides almost all of her movements with a dancer's refinement, with a sort of kind of unbelievable and sexy momentum. And it's the momentum of a sort of belief. It's the momentum of the body more than anything else. And I hope that if you have been watching my videos where we go into Joss's works, these words that I'm throwing out there should be trigger words in a sense. Joss has always been obsessed with the body. What is the body? Is a body a container for the experiences? Is a body the home for the soul? Do we even have a soul? What is the body? The body is momentum in Serenity. The body is the momentum of the identity, which is something that is only able to be qualified from the experiences that the body endures. And River's body is a weaponized body, which gets us to the concept of the albatross, which is an epic poem, a mariner's poem, that has been referenced in Serenity at least twice. River is likened to the albatross, and I think that Malcolm responds with great critical insight that the way he remembers it, the albatross was a symbol of good luck until some idiot killed it. And now we view albatrosses as a burden. Normally, it's an albatross around one's neck, and River Tam is certainly an albatross around the crew of Serenity. But Malcolm refuses to view it that way. Albatrosses can be like sins. Sins are archaic and outdated. What if that albatross around our neck isn't a burden, but a symbol of good luck, kind of guiding the way for the body's momentum? The momentum of River Tam. That's how it's personified there. That's how it's personified for the crew at the very end of the movie. I love the very end I love everything about this movie, but the very end of it is rather sweet with Malcolm and River piloting the ship together because fucking R.I.P. Wash. He was so good. He had nothing to do in this movie but die, but it was so narratively important and it put Zoe through an arc that I thought was beautiful and tender, but we're not really here to talk about that right now because I want to make this kind of shorter, but just know that Wash's death, it broke my heart, but what broke my heart into a million pieces was Zoe's reaction to it. An incredible character. Zoe's one of my favorite characters, but she doesn't really play into this larger philosophical conception that builds the framework of Firefly. The last things we see in the film are Malcolm and River flying the ship out into space. Flying the ship out triumphantly. And he even says it's not all buttons, little albatross. And I think it is poetically relevant that River is now providing the ship's momentum by piloting it, or at least co-piloting it. River is the body's momentum, and without momentum, the body doesn't the identity that animates the body doesn't have its own identity or freedom. River Tam is a superhero, a fairy, weaponized into a psychopath, a mermaid turned into a catastrophic killing machine. She is something special, something vital. There's a line in the poem about the albatross itself that's water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. I think that when applied to Serenity, because that line could be applied to anything on the planet, but applied to Serenity, it's probably like it's either meaning or it's belief. You can be surrounded by it, but you cannot benefit from it because meaning is personal. The most beautiful thing about the human experience is when uh, meanings can be shared, but without infringing on the freedoms of the individuals involved. And together, the momentum of a group of bodies can form a group identity that is truly kind of gorgeous. And I hope we all experience that in life. Like these are actual like philosophical lessons that Serenity is teaching us. I think it's a very, very helpful kind of film. And it's a lot of fun. I think the coolest thing about this film is that it shouldn't exist, right? It shouldn't exist at all, but it does. And it's a film about existence. And it's also a film about belief. And Serenity is a film that only exists because of belief. It is the product of unreasonable belief. Joss Whedon has always questioned what existence means. What is the nature of existence? What are the mechanics of existence? Like everything about existence, I believe, puzzles Joss Whedon. Rightfully so. He is an existential nihilist. Like this film shouldn't exist. And yet it does. Making Serenity, forget everything that the movie is about, everything that is within it. The fact that it exists is a documentation of its own philosophy. That unreasonable belief, in and of itself, fosters existence. Belief, and only belief, an unreasonable amount of belief, is something that you can measure because it produces existence. That's fucking crazy cool. Come on, that's amazing. That's so cool. I better not be the only one who A, feels this way about the movie because it is kind of a wild take or reading. But it's just so cool to just consider and think about. It's a film about an unreasonable belief, about a quest for some sort of meaning, about the body's momentum, about what gives something its identity and its momentum. The momentum of belief gave us a film, gave us an existence, gave us a continuation of a murdered storyline. So here I think it's saying some really complicated things like our bodies, yes, they are finite things and the body has this momentum that provides us with experiences to form our own identities. But art exists as well, right? It's its own thing. The body of art is belief. The art itself, whatever is on this disc, provides the momentum, and that momentum is constantly ricocheting. It could even affect our own real, tangible bodies, right? The bodies with blood in them. It can affect ours. The momentum of all these different kinds of bodies, ones that are malleable, ones that you can even like touch, ones that are palpable, and ones that are ineffable, non-temporal. I think just by providing us with this film, Joss has, I think, philosophically determined and has proven, whatever, that the body of art is belief. And I think it is a postmodern film. So it even kind of negates essential components of postmodernism by saying that it's not existing out of nothing. It is a film that shouldn't exist, yet it does because belief is the body of art. Very cool. Very cool. And this film has so much momentum, so much force, so much drive and energy. And what makes that momentum so interesting to me is that the show Firefly formed the film's identity. Like it formed the identity of its characters and the frameworks of the philosophy of the show and the characters and the concepts and all that. What Serenity was doing was finishing it. Serenity's goal was the death of the story, the proper death of the story. That's what the momentum is heading towards. And that's what I think makes the ultra-violent ballets of River Tam so engrossing. I can't look away from them because it does feel like Swan Lake at times. I can close my eyes and hear Tchaikovsky. And that's why I view Serenity more like a ballet than anything else. Because there is so much momentum and it's a nihilistic momentum that I find really optimistic and life affirming. What we do matters, and how we do it matters. Momentum matters. Fix up the ship and keep going. The ship is also the body. And Malcolm, one of his ending lines is about loving the ship because of the people within it, because of what it represents. People within the ship provide the momentum to the ship, to the story, to the grand narrative. And I think that's beautiful. And I like the optimism because I feel like it really speaks to me. I think the film is composed extremely well. The lighting is really something else, really quite remarkable, very moody. It's not just Western or science fiction. There's a great deal of noir here, of neo-noir here, and I think that's beautifully rendered through the composition and through the tropes that Serenity loves to um, subvert or celebrate, both simultaneously at times. I think Serenity is an excellent film. I love it. I love it to death. I love it mostly because it is so optimistic. To see that girl, to see River perform those ballets of ultraviolence, and you realize that it's a beautiful, colorful, and ultimately kind of magical display of the body's momentum, of the momentum of nihilism itself. You can believe in that. You can believe in River Tam, and you can believe in her unreasonably.